What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to be rebuilding or trying to attempt to rebuild my double cardan joint from my 2004 Toyota Tacoma. It has the automatic transmission, it's the pre-runner, and so this is half of the drive shaft that I have here. It comes with the slip yoke and the double cardan. You don't need to remove the other half. I left it on the truck. So before you try to attempt this project and remove your drive shaft, make sure you have it marked appropriately on your truck, and because you want to put it exactly in the same orientation that you took it off. So I have it marked here to the other piece of the drive shaft that I took it off from. And also from this side, this goes to the differential. So make sure you mark this flange to your differential position. So let's see how this goes. This double cardan, from what I've read online, it's not serviceable, but there have been a few people that have managed to be able to rebuild this double cardan. Um, so this one is, from what I've read, it should be a bit easier to rebuild because it has the external retaining rings. If your retaining rings are on the inside, then that one is a bit more challenging to rebuild. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the internal retaining ring side type of double cardan joint for the U joints, those came from 1995 to 1999. And I think from year 2000 to 2004, they switched to these external retaining rings. So if you have the internal retaining rings, of course you could still rebuild it, but I think the process is a bit more challenging from what I've read online. But there is a video online by another YouTuber that has the rebuild process for this. So the U joints that I have in you right now are the original ones. They're the Koyo KC1719DL, and these have been worn out. You know, there's a little bit of play in here, and I'll show you in a bit. Um, and I did find the appropriate part U joint that should fit in here from my online research, and I'll put that in the link in the video description. And so, yeah, this drive shaft has about 312,000 miles on it. It's the original one from the truck. I'm not the original owner of the truck, but it doesn't look like this has ever been serviced before. Obviously, this is not serviceable, but we're going to try to do it or attempt to do it. Not made to be serviced, but this U joint right here, I don't know if this is original or not. This is the one that connects to the slip joint, and this flange mounts to the differential. This one doesn't have any play on it, which is really good, and it has an internal type retaining ring on it on the inside retaining ring. So I'm not gonna mess with this one. I don't feel any play here. So yep, let's get to it. One thing that I did rent from an auto parts store was this ball joint press and U joint press set. So I wanted to make sure that this part right here that's going to press up on the U joint wasn't too big, and it looks like we are good here because it goes into this. I can press up on the caps here. It's not too big. So I think we're good here. So yeah, let's kind of try to attempt to rebuild this. I hope I don't ruin this shaft, because obviously I do have some vibration issues with the truck. The reason why I'm rebuilding this, but other than that, the drive shaft is fine. So let's see how far we get. The one thing that I'm a little worried about, there's a centering ball inside. So I've been told that if that ball is bad, then there's nothing you could do. Even if you replace the U joints, you still will have vibration inside. But let's see what we find once we tear this apart. All right, first thing you want to do before you start is mark your drive shaft. These pieces have to go exactly the way that they came back, that you're taking them apart. So I went ahead and marked this flange part here that we're going to take off to the center piece. And then you also have to mark this piece. I ran out of yellow paint, so I'm going to just mark it here with like a black pen. But make sure that you mark this so you know exactly the orientation it goes back. Otherwise, you could have some vibrations after you put it back. All right. So first thing is first, we're going to start with the center section here. So remove this retaining ring here with some retaining ring pliers. All right, so the next thing you want to do is you want to get your puller out, and we're removing the U-joint from this center section first, so that's how I have it positioned. I started working on it already, so you can see how, I don't know how good you can see that, but some of the U-joint is actually shifted up already this way. And the best thing I found was to not use any of these rings that come within the kit, just use the puller itself. So let me come this way. So you could see that it still allows for the cap to come out from this side. The thing is, if you put any ring on here, first of all, it's going to sit crooked. Second of all, it's going to hit this flange. So you're going to put this on here. It's going to be hitting the flange at the same time. So what I've learned is don't use any rings. Just use the puller. It's not the best, I would say, but it's just right, perfect enough to where your cap could come out of this hole. So I'm going to keep working at it. I'm going to keep pressing this out and see where I go. All right, running into the first issue right now, the one thing I noticed was that if you look at the inside of this, it's actually curved on the inside. If these were flat and it had the same profile all the way around here, then I'll be able to remove the cap using this U-joint puller. But the one thing I realized was even if I drive this whole flange section all the way this way, I only get about this much cap that sticks out. So even if I put a pair of pliers on here, I'm not going to be able to pull it off. So I think what I'll have to do here is doing some research online is what I'll have to do is I'll have to get a hammer and I'll have to support this from the bottom here and do like light taps. I don't have a brass hammer, but that's what's recommended. But get it on its side like that, support it from the bottom, and tap this flange section down. So what that's going to do, it's going to shift this whole section this way. And I think there's something called a washer trick. So you're able to kind of stack some washers on the inside of that cap. So I'll see what I find and what I could do here. Just doing some light taps, nothing crazy. So I could see that this cap is starting to move this way, the way that I want it. And I don't know if you can see that, but look how much, look at that. The whole U-joint is about to come out right now in a bit. So I think the goal would be to put these caps at the most outward extreme conditions. If I'm able to get this cap in the same orientation as this one, then this U-joint should come out. So let's keep trying to see if we're able to get that one out and then work on the next one. All right, so this is the portion of where I'm at. So you can see that I have tried to get both caps in the most outward extreme positions as possible. And from what I read online, what you can do is, so I have space here between, you could see here, I could actually start to put washers inside of this cap on the inside, and that would fill this cap up with washers, and I can kind of beat down on this flange and it would actually pull this cap out. So I am now stuffing in as many washers as I can inside of here to be able to do that. So let's see how that works out. All right, success. I just got one of the caps just came out. I stuffed it in with some washers, kept pounding on it, or light taps, and it came out. So I'm about to take this U-joint off right now. I'm gonna be careful here because there is like a centering ball that you got to be careful of. Let's see what we have here. Okay, got it. There's a spring in here. I don't want to lose any needles. Nice, they're still in here. Wow, this is actually still pretty nice. This is not loose at all. Cool. Got it. That's good news. This is a really tight ball here. I don't feel any play, even after 312,000 miles. Good shit. All right, this is the U-joint that we took out. So I got my alignment. I know exactly how it goes back. Right there. So, right there. And yeah. Next thing to do would be start working on this one. Take this whole, okay, what do we have in here actually? So, okay, there's a spring on this side. Let's take the spring out, just like that. Okay. Got it. So now I'm going to start focusing on this one here. It'll be the same thing. We'll have to do the same thing. I'm going to get the U-joint. What is this? Yep, I'm going to get the U-joint puller, get one cap to the extreme end, and just start working my way on this one too, like I did that one. All right, so I'd been pounding on this for a while now, and what I tried to do was support it by this section here, and then pound on these portions, try to get these caps in this directions, both sides as much as possible. And I came to the point where I was only able to get both caps about this much because this inner part of this centerpiece started to touch here, so I couldn't get these caps out any further. So I was struggling for a while there, and I don't know how other people are doing it on the forum, but what I ended up doing was I just try to pound on them as much as I can to get these caps in the best position. Then I had to get a pry bar. Got this huge pry bar, probably about, a foot and a half, and I kind of jammed it in between the cap and the U-joint race, and then I try to pry it as much as possible, and I got a pretty good amount of that cap out. So now I have enough space to start putting in my washers to try to pound this cap out. So that's what I'm going to do next. All right, success. So after I got those washers stuffed in the inside of that cap, I kind of banged it a bit more. And then I got this whole piece disassembled now. There you have it. That's all good. So I'll kind of press these out later. Okay, so next part would be to remove this one. So I don't know how difficult this one's going to be, but at least we have easy access to this one. So let's go ahead and remove that. Same procedure. Let's do the snap rings first, and yeah, let's do it. All right, so this one was a piece of cake to get out. I got my little brass hammer. I was able to kept tapping it, and all the cap is already all the way out, so this part should be fairly easy. All right, so I got this U-joint out fully here, and I could see almost on two of the race side of the bearing, there's indentations of the needle on the surface. So this side of the race, there's absolutely no lubrication on here. So what may have happened is that this port probably got clogged over time. So when you grease it, it would go to the other ones, but it wasn't going to this one. So it was completely done for. So yep, now to replace this one. All right, so I got the new U-joint in there. It is this part number here. Let's see, all right, got the new U-joint in there. It is this part number 1351-25 by Powertrain Industries. So pretty simple putting the U-joint in there. You take off all the caps. Then what I did was I pressed in one cap about halfway. Then I put the rest of the U-joint in there. And then I was able to drive the bottom cap in first while holding the top of the U-joint so it doesn't pop out. And I kept tapping it as it got closer to the top. As it got closer to the top, I was able to put the top cap on there. And then I kind of ran it in with the brass hammer, make sure everything was aligned there. If you don't get it aligned properly, chances are you probably dislodge some of your needles, needle bearings, so you'll have to push these caps out and readjust your needles there. But this one is nice and happy. Feels really good there. Make sure you orient your Zerk fitting properly. So I have mine at like a 45 angle, so you can properly grease that once it's in your truck. And the grease Zerk should be, facing to the left on this one here. All right, good news. I was able to get the centerpiece back on there. Got that U-joint all in there. Zerk is accessible. Looking good so far. So the next thing I'm going to do here is take apart the U-joint from this back portion, flanged portion, which has the centering ball on there. My ball is actually in pretty decent condition. It's pretty nice and snug. I don't feel any like looseness in here after this many miles, so I'm not even going to touch that. I am not even going to clean the grease out or anything. I don't want to mess with it. So I'm going to put it back together. First, take out the U-joint here, and just press a new one in and just assemble everything back together. I'm not worried about this old grease in here. I will pack some more grease in here with the grease gun afterwards. I don't want any of these needles to get lost or dislodged as I'm pressing this back together. All right, so this is a very challenging part of the reassembly procedure. So I have to reassemble this back into this position. So this position actually, this goes in the back like that, but I made some mistakes and I have ruined one of my U-joints. What ended up happening was I had some of the pins dislodged in this U-joint that I had attached to here. All right, everybody, so I made some mistakes here, and this is a pretty critical part of the reassembly procedure. So when I was working on this, there's a few things that are going on at the same time. First and foremost, you want to make sure that your needles inside, your needle bearings that are inside this ball, they don't get dislodged as you're reassembling it back into this piece here. So as you're reassembling that, there is also a spring. There's a spring that gets fit inside of here. So as you're pressing the caps of the U-joint, you're also fighting this spring. So you have to compress it, and you have to make sure that your caps here press properly against the races of these U-joints, and none of the pins get dislodged. So what happened to me was one of the caps fit just fine on this U-joint. It was aligned properly, but when I went to go assemble the other one, push it through this side, I was trying to kind of press them together. This one was fine, and this one, and I made this mistake, is I used the C-clamp, and I over-tightened it, and I couldn't get my snap ring to fit on the outside of this retaining area. So that's when I knew that something was up, that the cap didn't want to press any further onto the U-joint, so I had to take that cap off. And what I realized was that I had applied too much force because I was in a hurry. It was like 1 a.m. at night. 1 a.m. in the morning, I was trying to go to bed, and I had broken some of the pins that were inside of the caps. So I had to get another U-joint, but I think what I can do here is just use the caps off of the U-joint. I don't think I need to press in the whole U-joint anymore. I just need to use these caps. I think that should be okay. I really don't want to go through the hassle of having to press this U-joint out and then pressing a new one in just for these caps. So, yep, that's the situation. So when you assemble this, you want to make sure that none of your pins get dislodged inside of this ball. Inside of it, it's hard to see, but there's needle bearings in here. You want to press this in. Make sure that you press it in straight, apply a little bit of pressure, and set your caps in. So I'm going to try to see if I can get this on camera. So what I'll end up doing is I'll press in one cap here first, put this piece in there, maybe put the U-joint in this direction, put it inside, and then twist it and put this side inside the cap. So let's see how it goes. All right, so I got this cap pressed in on this side. So now the goal is to put this part back on, make sure you have it aligned properly. So I have to let me align this centering ball. Okay, here we go. I think what I'll try to do is get the ball first. Okay, that's there. Oh, that's not going to work. Still looks okay, so I can go back another time. Pins look okay still. Let's try it again. Let's try. Yeah, this is kind of challenging here. Pins still look okay. Try again. Okay. That's not gonna work. I think I messed up the pins this time for sure. Yep, definitely did something. Okay. Still okay. Yeah, I think what I'm going to have to do, this is a very, I thought I could kind of halfway press this cap in, but I think I went too far. So now I have to take this cap out. I think what I'll have to do is put this whole part in here first and then hammer the caps in, which I don't want to do because how do I know that the caps, the needles in the caps align with the U-joint race? All right, let's see what I could do. Got this cap out. Okay. Okay. All right. So okay, get that alignment right. Okay, let's put this in. Still okay. we're in. Okay. Ah, dang. Still okay here. Yep, this is probably the hardest part. Okay, still okay here. Try something else this time. Okay. That didn't work. Huh. Okay, there's it. There it is. Okay, so you can kind of see there's a spring acting on it. So now what we have to do is start pressing in the caps, but when the caps start going into the race, we want to make sure that this is pressed down. Here. Yep. So let's go ahead and start pressing in this cap here. I do see, where did this needle come from here? That's definitely not the size of the needles that go in the ball. I'm checking my cap here. Nothing is missing here, so this could be, these are probably old needles that were from the previous cap. Okay, so now I'm gonna start pressing this one in. Okay. Yeah, this is kind of the harder part here. Keep it there. Slight, small taps here, guys. Light taps. Now what I'm going to try to do, try to press this in this way, like that. Kind of angles is this way, so the U-joint will shift that way. Hopefully get that aligned. I'm going to try to use this U-press here. I don't want to, kind of like pick your poison. With this U-press, it's C-clamp press, it's hard to know how much pressure you're applying. But with the hammer, the problem with that thing is that with those impacts, sometimes the needles get dislodged. So I'm going to keep working at this. All right, all done. I was able to make it work. So how I did this was I first, obviously you just saw it, no caps, put in just the U-joint itself. Start to press one cap in from one end and, you know, do some small taps with the hammer. And then I recommend using your C-clamp press. Start pressing it in and then shift your U-joint into the cap. Make sure it's seated. You can actually play around with it. You can feel if there's any roughness to it. If it feels nice and smooth, you're generally good. So then you keep pressing this cap further and further away. And then you want to go to this side, and then as you press this, because it's spring loaded, you do your best to align that race on that U-joint with this hole here. When you've done that, you put your cap on here, small taps with the hammer, and then you slowly start driving it in with the U-joint. Just do your best to align it the best way you can. It's hard to see. And yeah, and to pray at you have to pray when you do this. It's kind of a hit and miss, so you do your best with the alignment. And at any time where you feel that your U-clamp press, or if you're using a hammer, if the U-joint is not driving any further, that probably means that some of your needles in there in that cap have shifted, and you'll have to pull that cap out and reinspect. I didn't do that the first time. I kept driving it in, and what ended up happening was you can actually see some of the pins broke off inside of that cap because I kept driving it again and again, or deeper and deeper. So now what I'm going to be doing is grease everything up. These U-joints from the factory, they don't really have a lot of grease on them. It's very minimal. So go ahead, put some good quality grease in these, grease them up, and then yeah, install it on your truck and you should be good to go. So this is how the Cardan is functioning now. Feels nice and smooth. I don't feel any play. Yep, feels nice and tight there. No play. Sometimes what can happen is after you're done with this, you'll feel that there's some tightness in your joints. So what I've seen people do is they'll get like a hammer, they'll like tap this, do some small taps on the side, keep wiggling, and it should kind of free up. All right, best of luck. This is not an easy repair, and if you're not mechanically inclined, I would not recommend doing this. This is a very it could be very challenging if you don't have any mechanical experience, but I hope this video helps. It wasn't perfect, but I hope it gives you the confidence to attempt this U-joint replacement. All right, just wanted to give a quick update. So I ended up putting the rebuilt drive shaft back in the truck, but no luck. Still has vibration, and it's actually worse now than it was before. So, yep, so this is the one that I rebuilt. This is the Cardan joint. If you look at it, look how floppy this is. There's like absolutely no resistance in this thing. It just flops. So what I think here is I have a bad centering ball mechanism in this drive shaft. This drive shaft has about 312,000 miles on it. So it was like this when I first started the rebuild, floppy like this, and it's doing the same thing. So I'm not an expert here, but I would say if your Cardan joint is floppy like this and it doesn't have any resistance, I think your centering ball mechanism is bad, and it might not be worth rebuilding it. So if you look at the other drive shaft that I got, this one has about 187,000 miles, what I've told. So this one is floppy too, but it does have a little bit of resistance to it. I could feel it. So I don't know if this one is worn out too. I'm not an expert in drive shafts, so just wanted to give that quick update that I'm going to attempt putting this used one in now. So hope this video helps you in determining if you want to rebuild your double Cardan joint, get a new drive shaft or a used one. All right, just a quick update. I just went for a test drive, and I don't feel any more vibrations coming from the drive shaft. So conclusion is that, yep, you know, it looks like something got damaged either during the removal and assembly process of the Cardan joint, U-joints, or the centering ball is defective, and me putting new U-joints in somehow threw the whole thing kind of out of balance because the centering ball was bad already. And with it coupled with the new joints, I think something happened there. And I did show the video just of how floppy that Cardan joint was even after the rebuild. So for sure that centering ball mechanism is worn out. So that drive shaft had over 300,000 miles. So I think, you know, it's end of life at this point. And that centering ball, you can't even purchase that from what I understand. There's no part that fits on that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Learned a lot through the process. And yeah, make that decision if you want to attempt to rebuild your drive shaft, or if you want to get something used, a used OEM one. That's the one I got, or an aftermarket one. So yeah, hope this video helps.